Welcome to Beyond Just Money by Kalkai Media, an independent global media house and investor relations group. Please note that this podcast is for information purposes only. It is not a solicitation or recommendation to buy, sell, or hold the stocks of any company or engage in any investment activity under discussion. Kalkai Media is neither licensed nor qualified to provide investment advice through this platform. Hello, my name is Samta, and with me today I have the head of content for Kalkai Media, Ms. Nidhi Sinha. And in today's episode of Beyond Just Money, we will be discussing about how COVID-19 pandemic is resulting into doom for Australia's brick-and-mortar stores. Welcome to the show, Nidhi.
Thank you, Samta. The surge in online shopping has certainly hit brick-and-mortar stores that are going through a tough phase right now.
Absolutely. And in fact, initially when e-commerce started picking up, many took it as a complementary add-on to existing physical retail stores to enhance customer services. Gradually, the e-commerce giants mushroomed in numbers, increasing their market share. But they were never a threat to the brick-and-mortar retail shops. So, do you think that COVID-19 pandemic is resulting into doom for Australia's brick-and-mortar stores?
Samta, you are absolutely right in guessing that the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted brick-and-mortar stores in a big way. As the pandemic started ripping through the world, people preferred to stay indoors and took to online websites for shopping. It would have been a fair game had it given an equal opportunity to all the sellers in the market to sell their products online. But if you look at the practice, in many cases, e-commerce players prioritize their own retail outlets on their portals, even if their rivals are selling the same product at more competitive prices. In terms of size, estimates peg that the e-commerce market has doubled in the last 4 years to over 4.2 trillion US dollars. If that were an economy, Samta, it would be the fourth largest one after the US, China, and Japan. There is no doubt that e-commerce has been an outlier compared with global growth numbers, especially during the period of the pandemic.
Okay, and could you further talk about the scenario in Australia in particular?
Well, coming to Australia, e-commerce has certainly hit brick-and-mortar shops hard. Last week, when the Australian Bureau of Statistics released the retail sales data for the month of April 2021, there was one outlier. The turnover of departmental stores had dropped 6.7%, while all other sectors had shown growth. In fact, the dip in departmental stores turnover dragged down the retail sales growth numbers overall. And this dip isn't a one-off case. In December 2020, the retail turnover of departmental stores had fallen by 12.5%. Then again in January 2021, it dipped 40 basis points. Interestingly, if you remember, December is a festive season and the numbers should have actually jumped, in an ideal scenario. However, it grew in the months of February and March before dipping again this April.
So are you trying to say that e-commerce is eating a lion's share of the retail pie?
Industry research provider IBIS World is certainly of the same view, that e-commerce has finally started eating a lion's share of the retail pie. It flagged off the issue in its March 2021 report, stating revenue for the department stores industry is anticipated to decline in the current year due to decreased shopping activity and lower discretionary income stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic pressure. In fact, e-commerce is rapidly eating into the overall brick-and-mortar sales in Australia, driven by the increased penetration of mobile phones and changing consumer habits after the emergence of the pandemic. The increasing popularity of mobile devices had enabled consumers to shop online from multiple e-commerce websites. The increasing popularity of mobile devices has in fact enabled consumers to shop online from multiple e-commerce websites without putting the extra effort of going out to shop for a similar product within the same price range. But then there are certain limitations of e-commerce, as consumers are required to provide credit card information and certain websites are not capable of conducting authentic transactions. Hence, the lack of privacy discourages customers from using the internet for certain commercial transactions. So it really depends on the risk appetite of the customer to pick the preferred mode of shopping, whether it is e-commerce or brick-and-mortar stores.
Well, it certainly seems that we have to see how the space evolves in the future.
Absolutely, Samta. And to conclude, there may still be a lot of scope for growth of e commerce transactions as more people join the bandwagon once they are assured of the safety and security of their transactions. On that note, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Well, thank you so much, Nidhi, for coming on the show and sharing your valuable insights with our listeners. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And to our listeners who want to listen to this podcast again, please log on to our website, that is kalkimedia.com, or you could also go to our YouTube channel. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon for latest notifications. Until we see you next with yet another insightful episode of Beyond Just Money, this is me, Samta, saying bye. And as we always say, stay upright and invest vibes with Kalkai. Our listeners are requested to make their own inquiries about any investment, and Kalkai Media strongly suggests that the listeners seek advice from financial advisor, stockbroker, or other professional as necessary. Kalkai Media hereby disclaims any and all liabilities to any listeners arising from any use of the information shared or discussed in this podcast. This podcast is available for personal and non-commercial use only.